Actually, this is called Creme, Villain of Tomorrow.
Yeah, called Creme. I'm misremembering my childhood as we speak.
And I like her chemistry with her cousin. But again, that's just where I'm at with it.
We get a little jumbly for sure.
Low-key, I'll say it. Lex was right.
The girl from Ipanema in a random alien bar. Why is it there?
We've been fucking up, guys.
Before we started recording, we're like, what are they called?
And welcome back to another episode of Pinoys versus the World. My name is Harald Hyllseth.
My name is Chris Angkico.
And Chris, we are back, I believe a couple weeks after our previous episode.
Yep.
To talk about Supergirl today. Directed by Craig Gillespie. Shout out the doc for helping me out there. Director of Cruella. Did you watch Cruella? And
no, I did watch I, Tonya, though.
I, Tonya, and director of I, Tonya. Yeah. With a budget of nearly $170 million.
Well, you said that.
And a budget of $170 million. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of a conversation we have about that. And if the money was spent well, it's the second movie in the DCU, led by James Gunn, obviously. Up next, we've got Clayface. And then Man of Tomorrow coming next year. Clayface at the end of this year, I believe, right? October, November.
Yeah, because the trailer came out, so.
Amazing. Yeah. Based on the beloved DC Comics run, Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. Famously, the first picture that we got of Millie Alcock was reading Women of Tomorrow when Millie Alcock was cast as Supergirl. Speaking of, Millie Alcock coming in as Supergirl, Kara Zor-El, David Cornsweet throughout this film as Superman, her cousin, Eve Redley as Ruthie Knoll, the character Ruthie Knoll, Jason Momoa back in a DC project as Lobo. A beloved character, but again, we'll get into conversations about how we like Jason Momoa's performance as Lobo, and Matthias Schoenaerts as the titular villain, Creme.
As the titular villain?
Titular villain.
It's not the title of the movie, though.
Oh, that's what titular means.
That's what titular means.
Keep it in.
Millie Alcock as the titular character Supergirl. That's how you say it.
Actually, this is called Creme, Villain of Tomorrow.
Yeah, called Creme. I was like, did they change the title on me as we're talking? I was like, yeah.
Incredible.
So.
Maybe not incredible.
So there you go. You learn the more you know.
Shout out Letterboxd. We're going to start doing a little bit of plot summaries. This is going to be a first for us. Shout out Chris for mentioning it as well. But via Letterboxd, plot summary for Supergirl is when an unexpected and ruthless adversary strikes too close to home, Kara Zor-El, a.k.a. Supergirl, I've said it too many times, a.k.a. Supergirl reluctantly joins forces with an unlikely companion on an epic interstellar journey of vengeance and justice. So I'm going to ask you, Chris, as we talk about that interstellar journey of justice and vengeance and all of the above, what are your non-spoiler thoughts on Supergirl, a movie that I know we've been talking about a lot since Superman came out last year? So we're going to keep a non-spoiler up here at the top before the break. And I also want to hear your ratings at the very end while I take a sip of this nondescript sparkling water down here.
Okay. Oh, wow. I can't even see that from my...
I provided my boy Chris
you
with his own
you put my drink on
nondescript sparkling
Amazing.
water so that my voice and your voice can stay cool in this heat today.
Amazing. I wonder if we can
Happy July.
I wonder if we can get Jonas to like drop that in on an effect. Just down. Anyways, you were asking about my reviews of the movie. It's certainly not Interstellar. You talked about the word Interstellar.
The first thing that popped into my mind when I was like, nope, it's not.
Certainly not that. I mean, I think it's going to become no secret that we were not huge fans of this movie. The plot is just very generic. It feels like it's trying to be movies we've seen before, just trying to mash them together, but just not as good. Millie Alcock, I will say, is great as Supergirl. I think that's the one thing I think everyone can sort of come to a consensus to, is that her performance-wise, she was really good. It's just that the writing and the plot around the movie is just not very up to par with her performance, and it just feels like very meandering. There are parts there, there are parts of this movie that are like on Krypton that we will get more into later that I thought actually were very good and easily the best parts of the movie. And it kind of made me think about, again, which we'll talk about later, is like, what does a better type of movie look like? But the rest of it is just kind of just very generic. And it's like, the way the characters are used is kind of like, okay, we need to advance the plot. It didn't really feel like much was happening that I really needed to care about. And that's really my biggest thing. What about you?
Well, what about your rating?
Oh, what about? Oh, you want my rating? You want my rating right off the top? So 2.5. 2.5
There it
is my
is.
rating of the star. And I will say, I don't think, I mean, we're going to get into it because I don't think you were as high on this as I was, which is crazy because normally I feel like I'm the harsher one. But what is your rating?
I gotta say, we're starting off with a paltry 2 out of 5 for Supergirl, which honestly makes me want to go back and retroactively rate Disclosure Day a little lower. So I'm not gonna.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm not even gonna apologize to Steven Spielberg. I was being too kind. Disclosure Day 2.5, but I'm gonna say Supergirl is a strong 2 out of 5, and that's mostly because of the performances from Millie Alcock and David Cornsweet throughout the film. I mean, the best thing about this film, and I would say even for a movie I liked a lot more. Happy 4th. There you go. You're gonna hear the bang in the background, but we're gonna keep it pushing. Happy South End 4th of July. But the Super family and the DCU and where James Gunn kind of started this entire franchise last year with what I think maybe did you give it a 4 out of 5? I think we both settled at 4 out of 5 for Superman last
I gave
summer.
it a 4 out of 5 for sure.
And that was a movie that I was really excited and nervous for because I want to see the DCU be good. I mean, you're talking about a couple nerds right here. Maybe our bag growing up wasn't as much DC. Would you say it was for you more DC than Marvel? Because obviously it was Marvel for us for so long.
I would say probably because Iron Man like started the MCU. Because I really wasn't a comic book reader. But when I was like 11 years old, when Iron Man came out,
there you go.
That was kind of when I was like, okay, fine, cool, superheroes.
We're
and
in.
then from then, like DC. I mean, I really became a DC guy with the Batman. I really can't say I was a huge. I mean, I definitely watched some Batman and like Batman Beyond. I was really into.
Fire show.
Justice League Unlimited. So let me say, I'm misremembering my childhood.
The DC animated universe.
The DC animated universe,
Goated.
I was super into. I will say, I'm misremembering my childhood as we speak. But yeah, so Justice League Unlimited and Batman Beyond are two shows that I really, really remember. And then obviously Marvel took over like most of our like teenage,
nearly 15
middle
years.
School, high school years, and then college years.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like the game is kind of open to see who can sort of do it. Problem is that like, Supergirl's
right,
just not
and
an
the
entry
Supergirl lead us in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm bringing up what happened last year. Obviously, this is the second film in the DCU and James Gunn's DCU. I mean, I would also be remiss not to mention the issues they've been having with their parent company as well. And like, will the DCU survive in its current form? Right. So bring forward Supergirl, which I know loosely is based off a very beloved graphic novel and comic book run. As we mentioned at the top, Woman of Tomorrow, which is ironic because then they're naming the next kind of DC film. It's not even called Superman, Man of Tomorrow. A lot of Tomorrow, we get it. These are the Kryptons of our universe, or Kryptons. This is the Kryptons of our universe. No, they're the folks that are coming in and seen by many as saviors, but obviously Superman is just a country guy, and here comes Millie Alcock's Supergirl. Kara Zor-El is a far more jaded, and I think rightfully so, darker version of someone that like has come from the devastation of Krypton. Obviously, Kal-El was a baby when he was sent to Earth. That is not the case for Kara, and I don't think that is even like necessarily a spoiler. It's like very much crucial to who she is as a character. And I know that the graphic novel is beloved because it dives into what happens when someone like her sees the devastation on her planet, comes to a version of Earth with cheery old cousin Clark and, you know, her own ability to cope, which is go and find a red sun and get drunk all the time and be really sad and deal with like really depressive thoughts, right? It's dark, it's really engaging, and I know that people really enjoy it because at the end of a very dark story with that, right, is a really fun and colorful and imaginative, hopeful story about how you get out of that hole. Also centering the character Ruthie, that's obviously the second most important character probably in this film. So now I'm entering this knowing a little bit about the comics. I've read a little bit. The art, we looked at it yesterday. It's beautiful. It's colorful. It's bright. And without the middle scenes, which I'm not going to spoil until afterwards, that we both really enjoyed, that I think save the movie and rewatchability for me, I see a film that doesn't give Millie Alcock a whole lot. You know, she shines when she is Supergirl, but it doesn't really like endear me in the same way that like I was hoping they would present something that made me love Clark and David Cornsweet Superman last year. Something more colorful, something more bright, something that was able to balance the depressive action she's going through and her really tough life and like how to overcome her alcoholism and how she's really coping with her mental stress as the last one of her family now on Earth with her other family members she barely knows. The movie is way too dark. It lacks a lot of direction. We already talked about it before. I just think it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to ask this question in the back end. What does it look like when a James Gunn movie is they try to make a James Gunn movie, like a Guardians of the Galaxy type film, which is probably the biggest comp a lot of people are making for it right now, but you don't have James Gunn behind the camera lens and in the room writing the screenplay. Like, when I see Superman, I'm like, I know James Gunn's fingers were all over this, whether you like it or not. But for Supergirl, it really feels like a diet version of that in all the wrong ways, which is disappointing because I think Ruthie's character is engaging and interesting. I mean, Lobo is a beloved DC character. I don't think that I love Jason Momoa, but I'm also like, hey, what did he add to it? And at the end of the day, this felt far more like a space odyssey that they were trying to tell a story about, rather than really what should have been the origin story for Kara Zor-El in this universe that we're just getting started. Like, if this was movie 4 or 5, right? If you're taking it, I have to take it in the scope of the universe at whole. But I gotta ask you, Chris, do you think that it's damaged where we're going in the future? And I mean, maybe any of your other thoughts, as you can tell, like, I don't want to spoil everything, even though I wasn't super high on it. I think you still have to watch it because there's really crucial things to understanding what the future is of the DCU. But it's just like not a very visually engaging movie for me, not very engaging in plot, and it doesn't seem like it's the best adaptation from a beloved source material that people were excited for. So that's where it left me, 2 out of 5. I'm not happy to say it. I'm happy Millie Alcock is in the DCU, but it's about where I'm at. And I like her chemistry with her cousin. But again, that's just where I'm at with it. It's a bummer.
Yeah, really don't have anything more to add. I mean, I feel like we can get more into it with the spoiler talk. I feel like we've sort of outlined our general impressions of this movie, that kind of bit of a slog.
It's a snoozer.
It's a slog, honestly, with some occasional good moments. Again, with some occasional good moments that we'll talk about, but it's just kind of like, a lot of it is just, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
A lot of what are we doing here? Feels like a very like diet Guardians of the Galaxy, diet Captain Marvel, smush them together, see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of just like open ground. Yeah, like not very visually interesting either. I mean, that's really all I got. Again, like I said, I think the spoiler talk we're gonna get into, I think that's more gonna be where we can really get into it.
Yeah. So I will say, join us after this short break as we get into spoiler discussion about everything Supergirl. Again, shortly after this break. And we're back to speak with you all about our spoiler thoughts for the movie Supergirl. Chris, I think again, if you're a first-time viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I think we're doing a new segment here that we're going to try in the spoiler sections. 4 burning questions, something like that. Do you have something else that's more topical?
Yeah, four burning hot as the Krypton core questions.
Bang.
Yeah. Thought we could try something a little bit different today to sort of narrow down our spoiler thoughts.
Jumbled boys. I like that. You see it at the very top.
We get a little jumbly for
sometime.
sure. Yeah. So let's narrow it down. We'll see how this goes.
We had a little planning session, which is really exciting. Because my first burning Krypton core question for you, Chris, today, and we can get into it with each other. What frustrated you about the movie the most? And honestly, does the James Gunn style work without James Gunn? Kind of like I presented before the break.
Yeah. I mean, I think what frustrated me the most is that the main story. Again, we're kind of like mixing the questions together, but yeah, like I just thought the main story wasn't that interesting, and that there was like a better movie, and that we're kind of teasing off another question is like there was a better movie in there. I just kind of felt that the Krypton segment of this, so there's like, again, basically as we're getting into spoiler territory now, there are segments of this movie where it explains Supergirl's origin on Krypton and like how Kara's father Zor-El basically got a group of Kryptonians together so that when Krypton's core like exploded, that there could be like a force field and they could basically like take their city, Argo City, and just float about in space where like the rest of the disintegrated like Krypton blown up planet.
Because they know famously, as we also know with Clark's parents, that it's gonna blow.
They know it's gonna blow. So basically, Zor-El's, Kara's father's like plan is to save a group of people and put them on a floating part of this now deceased planet. And Jor-El's plan is to send Kal-El, his son, to a planet to conquer it.
So that's as you remember,
So they make it very explicitly clear that that in this universe, Jor-El sent Superman to conquer Earth or just whatever. Wherever
no mistakes there.
Yeah, wherever he ended up.
Low-key, I'll say it. Lex was right.
Yeah, so he was right. That was not misinformation. He was speaking the truth.
Yeah,
he was speaking facts. But now we have Kara, who spends like he grows up on this now hunk of rock, called Argo City, and basically, she has seems to have a pretty nice childhood until she becomes like a teenager, and then her father basically says this force field and like a little part of the core I think that's how it's explained.
Yeah.
Is that like it's basically like irradiating everyone. It's slowly killing everyone.
Because she was born on Argo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
So it's like slowly irradiating everyone, and basically if she doesn't leave the planet, she's also going to die. And so we need to recreate Kal-El's little box and send you down there so that you can live. And he makes it very explicit, the father, that she should be like a beacon of hope or whatever. Like she should be there and like be a benevolent person, not a ruler, but person,
just a person.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Yeah,
it's a big
and be kind,
like,
and
through line through all this.
Yeah, and then she reluctantly goes, and then she eventually runs into her cousin Superman, and she doesn't know how to speak English. She can only speak the Kryptonian language, and so you can see her sort of slowly. There, in other parts throughout the movie, the flashbacks sort of come in incrementally, and you see her sort of try to make her way on Earth and make her way in the world and learn English. We don't see exactly how that works, but eventually she learns it.
Yeah.
That's all we really need to know. And then she goes on all of her adventures that are like the main plot of this movie, and then she returns.
Yeah.
And then, talks to Superman. Is like, I think I'm going to stay a while or whatever. I think the most frustrating part of the movie is that was the best part. And like another question we have is like, is a better version of this movie? Does it exist? And I think it exists like in that. I think the most frustrating part is that there's just so much wasted potential, and you could have made this movie just so much different. You could have had the main plot of the movie that was here that exists with Krem and all that other stuff as like a third act side thing, where like the rest of it is just her learning Earth and like trying to learn her powers and learn like her place. I think that's because that seems to be kind of a theme in the movie, is like her, like she's drunk and she wants to do this, but she doesn't know like her place in the world and what she wants to do.
I mean, which is why she's going to the Red Sun.
She goes to the Red Sun
to get drunk so she could probably numb the terrible feelings.
But the thing is, it's based on, I think another frustrating part is that it's based on like plot and not like character as much. It's like she's in a place and she's drunk and she just doesn't want to help out this one lady who, Ruthie, sees her whole family die in front of her, which is very just kind of like forced. It felt very weird because all of a sudden, like, her whole family dies, but then, like, Krem doesn't, like, capture her also because, like, he's like a trafficker, That's his whole thing. So I'm like, okay.
Well, even his whole thing in the source material is that he's not even, like, the villain is not, it's just another villain for that exact reason, because the story itself is about Kara coming to terms with her own grief and her own pain through kind of like this Ruthie character, who I felt like after learning a little bit about Women of Tomorrow, I was like, damn, I really think they did Ruthie a bit dirty too, right? Because there's just not a lot of substance between her character other than like Kara having to calm her down whenever she wants to take vengeance on a character like Krem, and then you intersplice the other moments, which is at least frustrating to me as well.
Yeah. Ruthie also, I just thought that was an infuriating charter.
It's a tough character, man.
Infuriating character because she just walks into a room. Like, I get if naivete is what you were going for, but it's just so annoying because she also like doesn't, she's just there to advance the plot, basically just to get Supergirl to go somewhere else.
Well, I don't love the idea too of one of these important characters in the pantheon of the DCU and this story in particular being used as almost like a plot device, and the actor herself not getting a lot to work with to make her own like inroads with her own talent in the movie itself. I don't know. It's one of those moments where I have to catch myself, because when we talk about these films, I think there's also a bit of a reluctance I have to be as critical about like the way they're shot, or the way like some movie critics on YouTube cover like female-led roles and stuff like that, especially in comic books. Obviously, I like Captain Marvel. The Marvels was just not it. I like Miss Marvel, but like there's a lot of people who have like a lot of hate directed at them simply because the people who are in and leading are women. And that's one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this where I'm like, okay, it's almost like the source material itself is like not necessarily the most respectful to what makes it so unique that Supergirl, and only Supergirl as a character, could be the one that this story is like told through as a conduit, and Ruthie. And all I get, again, like we were talking about, like for me, the most frustrating part is that the story truly, and I mean truly, just does not have heart in it. And it's a story that it seems like needs heart to succeed. And it needs visual style that's distinct, and it needs to really give Kara, Millie Alcock's Kara, a lot more room to shine rather than being cast off to the side in some moments like she is when the green sun comes up and she has to wait for the yellow sun, and it's almost too easy because she like just has to writhe in pain for a bit. Ruthie gets captured, she has like a weird conversation with Lobo, and then she's fine again. She comes back, has her big Supergirl moment where she shoots into the air, and I'm over here supposed to like care about her like emotional struggles. I'm like, no, you're giving me just like slop moments that any superhero could fill rather than the beauty of what the strength is behind a Supergirl character. I just don't really think that they allowed Millie Alcock to really cook with, you know what I mean?
Yeah, also Jason Momoa, you mentioned Jason Momoa as Lobo. Like,
why?
It's a good fan cast because everyone wanted it.
It's literally a fan cast.
People wanted it 10 years ago, and they're just like, whatever, I guess we'll put him in the movie. And so he's just there to just do stuff, just to say things.
And he's not Aquaman in part. Yeah. Like, he doesn't act like Aquaman, but he's still Jason Momoa. And
he's just doing like, Jason Momoa. I think he even goes, yeah. Which is what, famously, in Justice League, at least the Justice League, he goes, yeah. So, I mean, it's just kind of, you're just getting Jason Momoa as just a guy. It's like we've seen Jason Momoa like in so much stuff already. So it's like,
well, if you didn't know who Lobo was coming into this, would you have cared about this like Lobo character?
He basically just comes in to just like kill one particular guy. Yeah. Not even like Krem, not even the leader of is it the Bergens? Is that what what are they called? I don't remember.
I'm just calling him the Krem. I'm sorry. This goes to show you, it just didn't one stick guy with me, bro.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
But no, he's looking for the one guy with Krem and his boys.
Yeah, he's just looking for a random guy just because he's got a bounty or whatever. But yeah, it's just he just pops up and just kind of in like conveniently to like save Supergirl and Ruthie when they're like in trouble for a little bit. But he doesn't do it out of like any altruism. He's just kind of like,
wow. Amazing.
I'm just here to kill people and like, see ya.
Yeah, he has that moment with Ruthie where he's like, I knew she had it in her. Like, what?
Yeah, when they're both like locked away in the cells and like Ruthie comes up with a little plan to like bring one of the guys in and then like stab him on the little spikes that are on the jail cell, and then he's like, yeah, I like you. You're a feisty one.
You're a feisty one.
I was like, okay.
You're like, cool. I'm like, if I have no idea who Lobo is, I'm like, well, Jason Momoa's not doing for me, and the script is
and he's like, I'm just taking a nap. Like that's the thing. He could have escaped anytime he wanted. He just was there to take a nap.
Well, let me ask you the second question then, because I think we're leading into it. Is like, why does this movie feel like other movies we've seen before, including again, whether or not it's in the James Gunn verse or not, if it's the MCU movies he's worked on, or now the second film in this giant plan that he has concocted for DC and DC Comics to bring their new universe to life, why does it feel like a less impressive version? And honestly, like, because before I throw it over you, there's one thing burning in my soul about this is that they were really trying, I think, to continue this lived-in experience that James Gunn wants these universes to have, because we don't have the time to have every single story be a direct origin story. So I know I said at the very top, I might walk it back a little bit, that like while I am disappointed we didn't get to know more about Supergirl outside of her 20 minutes on Krypton and her experience there with her whole life getting upended before she gets sent to Earth, and that being the most important part about her origin story, right? The lived-in experience that James Gunn is probably producing in back credit rooms with the director and the screenwriters is just like, okay, we're gonna just mention that Lobo is a god and he's kind of an asshole, and then just do something with that. And again, it's just the payoff for me isn't enough, and it's just like you're expecting me to care about these characters. As someone who knows who Lobo is and was excited to see what Jason Momoa would have brought to it, I honestly find myself more and less impressed and more frustrated with them trying to continue this lived-in universe thing without really paying it off as well as they did it with Superman.
What I would say to answer that question is like the music first, because obviously like music is a huge part of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I think like Guardians of the Galaxy was like the first like one of the first movie soundtracks, at least in a while, to get like #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Like music is like an essential part of that. Like Peter Quill with his Walkman is like, it's set up in that movie that he has like, it's basically to like maintain his like emotional connection to his family and to Earth and to like his mother who like died, and like it was really painful, and he needed the Walkman, and like he shows the music to everyone because he like loves it, and like reminds him of home and all those stuff. And so I think music in those movies is such like a huge part, and he's got more mixes because he needs like, he's got more tracks, and like again, it's like a running
continuity.
It's a continuity thing throughout the movie that like Peter Quill's super into music and it helps him. But like in Supergirl, she just has a Walkman. She has a Walkman and she just listens to it
No,
sometimes.
she has an iPod Classic. That's
Does she have an
about the
iPod
coolest-
Classic?
That's about the coolest thing about the movie is that
okay.
they give her the best physical media, which is
Okay,
a
good.
Walkman pair of headphones plugged into
That's
an iPod
what it was.
Classic.
That's what
incredible.
That's what I was thinking of. Is that like it was the Walkman headphones?
That is included in our favorite part of the movie. Again, something Millie
that's
Alcock
right.
is just a vibe. She's just a vibe. Like
Yeah.
I feel like she fits of this version of Supergirl they're trying
like
to
it looks like
create,
it looks
right?
cool. Like aesthetically, like she looks good with the Walkman headphones and yeah, I guess the iPod. But it's just like there is no like real like meaning to it. Also, too, there's times where there's like one bar that she goes to where they're playing an Earth song.
Yes. Oh my God. And
They're playing an Earth song, and I'm like, wait, what's happening? So like, does everyone have these Earth songs?
the girl from Ipanema.
The girl from Ipanema.
Bro.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
It's the girl from Ipanema. Yeah.
The needle
That's- you
drops
got
in
it.
this movie are fucking terrible.
They're terrible.
And
Are we
going to talk about the final needle drop
what's
in
the
the
one
movie?
at the end? What is it? It's like a cover of what's that called?
It's a boy Eats World or Boy Meets World.
Something like
it's one of those
Jimmy
songs.
Eat World?
Or Jimmy Eat World. It's a Jimmy Eat World song. I do remember because again, shout out friend of the pod, Lark, the homie. I read his 1.5-star review about Supergirl. He had one of the funniest things to say about this shit at the very end, where he's just like, it's an unfathomable needle drop, something of that sort. Is that almost leaves you chuckling, almost leaves you laughing in such a like not fun way.
I read that before.
Before
I
we
read
went
that
in,
before,
right?
no, before I watched Supergirl,
Yeah.
and I was like, "There's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way." And then it happens. It's like that scene at the end where they're like Supergirl's like slow motion
And she's
killing all
just
the,
murdering everyone.
and she's murdering everyone.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that cover comes up. I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?"
See,
She doesn't even get the sword. She never gets the sword like she does.
She
in
never
the
gets the
comics.
sword.
A
She
single
never
time,
wields the sword.
Ruthie
Woman's Mark.
never sees the sword.
But again, it's just very bad music drops, and yeah, very just poorly placed, poorly chosen.
Poorly chosen.
And yeah, the music just doesn't, like, you can just tell like that's part of the James Gunn style that like he wanted to Craig Gillespie like obviously wanted to emulate, but it doesn't work because the music doesn't have like meaning to it. And the cover's just like atrocious. I don't understand
because
like,
it's not even
timing,
the original.
The timing of it is just it's just so bad,
Yeah.
and like the music is so unmotivated, and it's really puzzling. As again, the girl from Ipanema in a random alien bar. Why is it there? I
couldn't help but chuckle a little bit.
What
bro.
Earthling
Like,
expose? It seems like the only Earthling that would ever expose this bar to the girl from Ipanema is Supergirl herself, because she can get there. I don't know any other Earthlings that are going to travel with Earth music. You know what I mean? So it's like, but it doesn't seem like she knows those people at all.
Yeah.
So how does that work? You know what I mean? It's so, yeah, there's just a lot
Well,
of...
the movie
there's
leaves you with way
there's
more
just
questions
things
than
that
answers.
That's just like one of a number of things in the movie that just don't make sense.
Well, it's for a movie that's based on a comic that has so much to do with the emotional side of Supergirl, where I remember reading, again, this is a shout out to Tyler Bowie as well, friend of the pod, someone who was a little kinder. I think he gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 to this film. And I do like what he had to say about Supergirl. Still gives you, I think, enough to understand why Supergirl is different from her cousin. And I think we'll get into this in a bit with like our combination of like Superman and Supergirl, how that propels us in the future of the DCU. I also do appreciate how they don't they make sure Kara is just like distinctly her own person. They give Millie Alcock like a lot to work with in that way, whereas she can just like obviously show she is the same version of herself that you see in the post-credit scene of Supergirl, where you're like, or of Superman, where you're like, why is Supergirl the way she is if you don't really know what Woman of Tomorrow is, and like why is she drunk? Like is she the way she is because of one reason? You find out obviously it's because of a lot of trauma. And it's trauma that Superman did not have to grow up with as much. Obviously in the same way. So he can look at the world a little kinder, and Supergirl is someone who sees the world in the way that only she could see it, which is distinctly different and a little bit more critical than Clark ever could, right? So I do think that is a success of the film, but in the same way, it's like there's still, for me, not enough to show that there's character growth that is paid off very well for either Ruthie or Kara. And it's just like them moving to different planets on different ships with my boy, Crypto the Superdog, just CGI Crypto, still like I don't wonder how much of this budget went to Crypto, just dying in the ship the entire time, or not in the ship, in the little alien shack, trying to get healthy as they try to get the MacGuffin of the antidote from Krem. And I'm just like, well, we're following Krem across the universe as Krem wreaks havoc against these young girls and traffics young girls to try to, with their weird male race thing happening. And I'm just like, there's just too much happening where I cannot focus on my main character in Ruthie, which I feel like would have made this movie far more enjoyable in my eyes.
Yeah, they also, well, like, they're trying to, like, besides Guardians of the Galaxy, they're definitely trying to put, like, Captain Marvel, like, girl bossy type stuff in there. Because that slow motion scene at the end is very like girl bossy and like,
and during the Jimmy Eats
the whole
World,
like the Jimmy Eats World where they're going around in a circle, and so like they're definitely trying to go for that. Again, I think it just that just doesn't work. You're trying to force it. You're trying to force like these song choices and like these moments that like you just haven't earned, and they just don't land. Well, in a movie where that it could have landed if we had just gotten more substance from their characters in the screenplay, especially the plot and the way this movie is written throughout the 140 odd minutes that we're asked to sit through this entire film. Yeah. It was a slog. And then again, it just looks and feels like a James Gunn movie without James Gunn behind the screen. And I actually would have loved to have seen a James Gunn Supergirl. I think that could have been great. I feel like he has the eye to adapt the source material and also make it something new. Because I also don't want to make it sound like if it's not 100% a direct adaptation of the source material, we can't enjoy it. I just think that there is, from what I've heard and what I've read, a lot of really good stuff there that I didn't see translated to the screen very well. Something that would have given the audience more to be excited about, right? Yeah. Another Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Those characters are all put together under like, they're put together for the plot. Yeah. But like when they come together, they have certain things they need to like work out with each other. Like Rocket feels like, I didn't ask to get made and all this other stuff, and everyone's got like their own problems. They have like, and those moments come up very organically. Those moments come up very organically. Yeah. It's like, okay, like a few of these people have like been traumatized by Thanos and all this stuff, and then like Peter's got his own stuff, and they're all just trying to like figure out how to like work together and just kind of become this makeshift team. Ruthie and Supergirl sort of explain their trauma to each other, and Supergirl's, trauma scenes, the flashbacks on Krypton, are much, much better. They're the best. They're most well fleshed out, like origin trauma stuff. I was low-key gamer leaning. Yeah, they're great. I was like those scenes are genuinely like the best scenes in the movie. And they're speaking fluent Kryptonian, and like it's really engaging. Yeah. I'm like, but okay, like, I'm in. But I never bought a connection between the two that they really understood each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like they're just put together and they just do the mission. I did not feel like these two like really like understood each other. And I'm like, I would understand they'd want to kick it with each other at the end, but I'm like, when they go out and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go drinking now. But that's the thing, is that like everything about the plot and how it's like coming together, I feel like they should understand each other. Like they should have a connection. I just did not feel it. It just wasn't there. In this adaptation, it doesn't come across super well. So I mean, I'm gonna ask you our third burning question. What does a different version of Supergirl look for you, Chris? Because I mean, this movie hasn't been doing really well at the box office, which is a bummer. It doesn't feel like their marketing materials have been super good. I mean, I didn't feel great about this movie when the first trailer dropped. I was like, it doesn't look visually like the way I was hoping, but I was holding out hope that there was something like in there, and like we talked about, like the middle scenes on Krypton are really engaging, but like the heart and soul of the film, and like just a really unappetizing villain, and a poorly written screenplay, given what they could have worked with, has just kind of led to this being kind of a thud, unfortunately, for DC and Supergirl at the box office. So what does a different version of this look like without, I guess, teetering on fan casting? But we've talked a little bit about this already. Yeah. I'd say a different version is you center, again, we've mentioned many times that the Krypton stuff is the best part of the movie. I think you just start with that. I think you just start with like, okay, like Argo City is going to separate from Krypton. You see her like live her life on Krypton, because like Krypton is also like pretty like well designed. That's like the most visually interesting parts of the movie as well. And like David Krumholtz is like Zor-El. I mean, I think he's also in like Oppenheimer and like a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. He's like a really good actor too. Like I like the scenes when like the two of them are talking, and you can tell like he does not want to part with his daughter. They feel like a family that feel like truly have lived 18 years on this planet. It feels like I wanted to see more of like her like growing up or something like that, and like how she was like kind of taught to be a good person, whereas like Kal-El had to go to Earth, and like he was found by these people, and then he learned to become a good person from them. It's like, how do you like unconsciously on like this floating rock learn to be a good person and all this other stuff? Because obviously like the power stuff isn't happening yet, but they are aware that like they are gods on other planets. Yeah. But I just wanted to see more of like that setup on Krypton and Argo City, and then when she comes to Earth, I wanted to see a lot more Superman involvement. The scenes with her and Superman are the best parts of the movie, because you can, because like obviously, like you said, like there's a clear contrast where like Supergirl has seen stuff on her home planet, and she's like seeing like the trauma that the breakup and all the radiation like has caused like her and her family and her people, and Clark has not seen any of that. He's just been sent to Earth with all the resources, so they can exchange experiences with each other and almost like bond as family members through that. Exactly. Like there could easily be moments where like, okay, first we need to get her to learn the language and like learn her powers and how they work, and then it's like, okay, now that we understand each other, like literally, like tell me what you've been through and what you've seen, sort of thing.
Clark's good at listening.
Because that's the thing,
Clark's
Clark's a very good listener, and he like actually he genuinely like even the parts where in the movie we have constructed, like he's always checking in on Kara, and I was really worried because I thought it was just going to be him on a green screen. I didn't think they were actually like going to talk to each other, but the last scene is like they're in his apartment, and they're like talking to each other, like just at the end of Superman.
Side note: why does Superman get paid so much more than Lois Lane? Because that man is living on like the top floor of the best apartment building.
Seriously.
In his, anyways, let's keep it going. Let's keep it pushing.
But yeah, I wanted to see a thing where like him and Supergirl and Superman kind of like team up at least, or like practice at the Fortress of Solitude or something like that. They learn powers. Maybe they go on some like minor mission. And like she learns some lessons or something like
enough
that.
where it doesn't take over.
Enough where it doesn't take over,
like but like
maybe something like kind of traumatic happens where she's like she kind of learns like the limits or something of her powers and like how she should use them and how she should not.
Yeah.
And also kind of like display, more importantly, I think display Supergirl like her wisdom at Superman, because Superman is he's a Boy Scout, and like it's a big part of the story. Even as it's constructed, that she's like seen more stuff. It's like I see the good in people, but he sees the good in people. I see the truth. That's in the trailer.
Well, it's in the trailer. It's one of the most important panels from the comic. It's very important in the movie.
Yeah.
It's so, titular to use that word. Titular to her character.
Yes, I could see the a situation where Supergirl like they save this person or something. Maybe she feels like icky about it, and like maybe Superman is not as icky about it, or like they just see a situation a little differently. And you can sort of see like the different contrasting ways that they handle a situation. And then eventually she's like, okay, I'm fed up with this or something like that. Or Crypto, let's go. And then like they take off and then they start the main plot of this movie, but it's like not as long. You could still have like Krem in there and like, it's
bits and pieces
generic villain plot, but you're kind of cutting yourself off from not, intentionally of not having him in the movie as much. And it's more about Supergirl. And it's more about like what she's learning and what she still has to learn and like saving people and
what she has to offer Ruthie.
Yeah,
which
she has
is
to offer Ruthie.
A huge thing that they're trying to do in the movie. I mean, because all I have to add to this is that maybe I don't necessarily like fully. I wouldn't necessarily on my end lean into wanting more Clark or necessarily wanting more Krypton. I do like the ideas that you're coming up with though, and I would love to see a movie like that. I just have this simple ask that this movie was just a bit more focused. And a bit more like focused on the individual conversations that Kara has with herself, that Ruthie is having about Kara, like we had talked about. Like there's a lot of the source material again that I'm like a lot of it is like told through Ruthie's eyes, and it's like what she is witnessing through Kara's struggles, and then what Kara is able to like then tell the reader through her own struggles, and how they get to a point where it feels far more genuine that her stopping Ruthie from going on the path of vengeance and destruction and pain that she is already currently going through, right? And she feels like is just something you can't avoid. Like she addresses it with Lobo sometimes, and which is just hilarious because of all the characters to talk to about empathy, like why are you shoving Lobo in there? Maybe that's some lack of ball knowledge for me. Is that in the comic? I'm not sure. Wasn't a huge fan of that because I'm just like, is Kara just gonna talk to Lobo about why she thinks Ruthie shouldn't kill Krem? And then Lobo's supposed to be just like, let her do it, man.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is sort of a gripe, and I've heard this about like Superman in general, is that like the only way you can sort of weaken him in a lot of things is to just take his, get conflict for Superman is just to take his powers away. They try to do that in Supergirl multiple times, obviously with the green and the yellow sun thing,
and the arrows,
with the alternate and the arrows, and it's like, okay, like we just have to weaken her so that we can have some sort of like conflict or battle or something like that. But I always think in those things about Smallville. There's like one essay by like Evan Pushak, nerd writer. He's a YouTuber, probably one of my big like inspirations for like doing what I do. And he's got like this book and he's got this like part about Smallville, and like there's a part about Smallville. What Smallville does really well is like Clark has like ultimate power, but he learns because he's like a kid and he's still like learning how to be Superman or like just be like a good person with big powers. Is that like there are times where like he meets people and they have abilities or something like that, and they're like really nice kids, but like he can't like save them. Like he can do lots of things in this world, but he can't save people from dying. Yeah. He can't like change people's like minds in some ways about things. So just like tangible like human things that he can't change about people, where he feels like trapped in a situation because his physical prowess cannot fix the problems. Where it's like in a lot of these movies, just like we have to weaken Superman so that he can't like physically stand up to all this other stuff.
Well,
So-
and that's the thing with Supergirl throughout the film is that I can name you multiple times where she is saved by side characters that either I'm like, how are you saving her? Or again, it's like Lobo whipping out at the last moment with the quip and just something to get I think it was during like the Arrow scene where Lobo or someone like maybe Ruthie gets involved, or just the ship starts crashing so she can start pulling the kryptonite arrows out of her esophagus and all of this that's preventing her from really being fully her true like physical self in this sense. I don't like the idea of Supergirl getting saved so many times in her movie by side characters. Like, and I get it, like kryptonite, like there's nothing she could do about that. But again, it just happens so many times that I'm just like, could this not have just been left for one big moment at the very end that like you build up to in a climax and it's like, okay, this slight weird team that we put together, again in the vein of like a Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just like, it just feels like a worse version of something we've seen James Gunn do, again without James Gunn behind the camera, that I just didn't really enjoy. And I just thought Supergirl deserved more. I think Kara Zor-El deserves more. I think Ruthie deserved more. And I think honestly Amelia Alcock deserved more for one of her big starring roles outside of, she's House of Dragon, or
House of the Dragon.
She's House of
she
Dragon.
Plays the young Rhaenyra.
Yeah,
she's really good in that.
She's
that's
really
the thing.
good. That's why I would have an incredible actor here.
I like both the actors that play Rhaenyra, but I just don't think Amelia Alcock got nearly enough time to play Rhaenyra before they aged her up and they advanced the story, the time period forward. Because obviously, I'm sure that's probably one of the key reasons why she got it. Because obviously, it's a WB, it's an HBO show, so she's already like in the camp, and I'm sure like okay, like she's probably on the short list for Supergirl because she's really good in that show as the young, like she has to like pressures of being like the heir to the throne, all this stuff. Like that's a very like complex thing for her to be, and I mean I think she nails this for sure. We've talked about that many times. So,
but unfortunately, isn't given enough time to shine to really carry the movie as much as you would like. So I got one last question for you, one last kryptonite in my esophagus burning question for you: is Superman the movie, Supergirl the movie? Now, the first two films in the DCU that James Gunn is trying to put together, are these two films enough so far? I know we're early. This is just our job as podcasters to do a little check-in. Is it a big enough and strong enough foundation for the rest of the DCU to stand on moving forward? And I guess, right, we've got Clayface, Man of Tomorrow. I don't want to neglect all of the animated shows. I haven't really had a chance to tap in, so I'm going to just stick to what has been released in theaters because fortunately and unfortunately for the DCU, that's what a lot of people are just going to see. Because that's what people go to the movies for, is to see the big superhero flicks. Do you think these two films so far are enough for the universe moving forward into Clayface and Man of Tomorrow? Is it enough?
I think so. I think because of Superman and Supergirl are like, there's still a strong contrast between them. Even though Supergirl doesn't like land the plane in a lot of ways, you could see like, okay, like the contrast they're trying to do, and like you could see Millie Alcock and David Cornsweet's like the differences in their performance, and like, you know, Superman obviously has much more like, you know, the Lex Luthor stuff and like the dimensions, and it introduces a few more characters that will be essential going forward. But yeah, it just kind of depends. Like they just wanted to set up like Metropolis. They just want to set that up, and then because
she mentions it in the movie, she's like, I'm just a blonde girl. We're just girls from Metropolis. Metropolis.
But like Superman basically sets up a world that's like been lived in already, because you know it's like he lands, because it's just like the beginning of that movie is like he's like midway through a battle and he's gonna go back, and there's a bunch of these characters like Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and all this stuff. We're gonna get more Green Lanterns. We're gonna get, who else are we gonna get? Adria Arjona's gonna be in it. I forgot what she's gonna be. I forgot exactly what the character is gonna be. But
it's the limited series. It's kind of based on True Detective, is the vibe that they're going for the Lantern series.
Yeah, the Lantern series is about
Lantern's
about True kind of True Detective, like that type of thing. So yeah, Aaron Pierre is gonna be in it. Mm-hmm. He's a good actor. Rebel Ridge. I don't know if you've seen that. That's
never
good.
Seen it. Shower.
It's a Netflix movie. It's really good. But yeah, I think there's enough foundation between the two of them. We just need better scripts.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We just need better stories. I mean, James Gunn is going to write and direct Man of Tomorrow.
And he's doing it right now.
They're filming it. You know, he's got Lex in the giant mech suit.
We've seen the mech suit.
Yeah.
The mech suit looks great. They're not shying away from that, so hopefully they kick it.
So I think it'll still be like a solid movie. Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously, you know, are they going to step it up from Superman? Because some people weren't that impressed with Superman. I think I liked Superman. I didn't love Superman. But there's enough there, I think, to propel it forward. Just depends what they do with like Clayface, like how you connect that, because it's like, you know, it's basically looks like a kind of a indie horror vibe,
Yeah.
where it's like he's like a monstrosity.
And no DCU Batman yet.
No DCU
right?
Batman yet. There's a lot of DCU core characters aren't there yet. So, you know, Wonder Woman is not cast yet. And yeah, we don't have like our foundations of the Justice League yet. And what that exactly, how they're going to like weave that in. It's going to be like a slow burn, or in Man of Tomorrow, you're just going to throw a bunch of characters in there and see what happens. So the jury's still out, but I think the super people, the Kryptonians,
Kryptonians. There it is. That's the word.
The Kryptonians are enough. That's true. We've been
fucking up, guys.
Before we started recording, we're like, what are they called? Citizens of Krypton?
You're like, you know how people from
Kryptonites?
Belgium are called Belgian?
Yeah, but yeah, there we go. We just we didn't think. I didn't think about it too much. Kryptonians.
My ball knowledge is cooked, y'all. Y'all can roast me in the comments below. Comics and comments below.
Yeah. But anyways, the two Kryptonians, I think, are enough. But we can't have, because of what you said, because of both, you know, of the success, the lack of success of this movie, and also the larger like Paramount Warner Brothers issue that's still, as of we're recording this, is still like in limbo. You know, you're gonna need a good movie to come out, or else this might be done like right away, like real fast,
like way too quick too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, nothing more I can add to that, because I think you just hit the head of the nail pretty well, Chris. The two characters, Supergirl and Superman, led by David and Millie, are enough for me to be engaged with, like, what is their relationship going to look like now that Millie is done. If anything, the benefit of this film is that it's happened. Millie has gone out and given her first big performance as Supergirl, and Supergirl, the character, has kind of at least dealt with a lot of her trauma, right, through Ruthie, her journey in this film. Lobo killing Krem, not killing. I think she kills Krem at the end. Krem's dead.
Yeah, she kills Krem.
Bye.
But way too late.
Way too late.
They're you know, Ruthie had a chance to kill Krem, and then Supergirl prevented her from doing that.
So that she could do it.
That's another thing that's stupid about this movie.
It's a big horror farm.
That's another stupid thing about this movie. I just want to say before you keep going is that, you know, she prevents Ruthie from killing Krem, and then Krem just goes and kills like a whole family. I was like, what is that? That's stupid.
It's dumb.
That's not good character.
The family
development.
that try to sell them out, and then it's like, well, okay,
I'm like,
off to the next planet.
That's just not a logical decision. But anyways.
Anyways, I do think that the two characters are in a place where now she's going to be healthier, and you see it at the end of the film. There's not even a post-credit scene in this movie. I guess for some people, thank God, but even I was just like, at least give me something to look forward to, like Man of Tomorrow. I was like, let's see the full connection. But you do see those two have great chemistry. She looks like she's healed at least a little bit, enough to probably be a part of this super team. It's maybe eventually going to become the Justice League. As we know, the Justice Society of America has existed in this realm.
The Justice Gang.
They're called the Justice Justice Gang.
But
now we're at the Justice Gang.
The Justice Gang.
Shout out Guy Gardner. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to shout out Guy Gardner, but shout out the Justice Gang. Yeah, pause. Big heavy on that. I want to see Mr. Terrific ASAP, bro. I need to see that man again.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think those two are enough. But again, it's like why Clayface next? But I am excited for Clayface, I will say, and I am very excited for Man of Tomorrow. And I hope Supergirl plays a prominent role in Man of Tomorrow, because I want to see more Millie Alcock. And obviously our main man, David Cornsweet, that man was born to play our modern Superman. More than anyone else that I could have imagined. I remember geeking out about this dude for about a month straight when Superman came out last July. So now here we are a year later. Actually, happy 1 year anniversary of the YouTube channel. Nearly, I think we've probably passed it at this point.
Kind of wild, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Our first thing that we released on YouTube was talking about Superman.
That's right.
So I have a lot of faith in James Gunn. Do I have faith in the Warner Brothers merger? Not really. That's a little bit worrisome. I think like the worries that I have about the universe are thankfully outside of the scopes of the films. But if the films continue to have the scripts and plots and kind of a bloated feeling that Supergirl has.
You can't
do it.
You can't risk another Supergirl flop.
Well, I do have to say too, I feel like some of the parts of Superman I didn't enjoy very much were also bloated parts where they just tried too much, or the plot or the script was just a bit too on the nose or a bit too comic cheesy for me, which again is the strength of Superman. But then it's just kind of like you zoom in like 5 times on it. It's kind of what it is. The problem is the problem of it is in Supergirl is just a bit more like pronounced. In my opinion. So my hope is that they're just able to take lessons from this and move forward and be like, the lesson is not to not include Millie Alcock as Supergirl in more films. The lesson is to write better scripts and to show a little bit more effort towards the final product so that these characters can be as beloved as the Avengers were for our generation.
Last thing I want to say about this point is that I've heard this on other like the Ringer podcasts and stuff like that. One of their big points about Supergirl was like, I think they're saying that this is officially the end of you can just make a superhero movie and it will make $800 million.
Yeah, it is.
You know, we're past the point where superhero movies like saturate the culture, that people feel like they need to watch them, or like they always have to go to the theater because they're always going to be at least kind of fun, or like you need to be able to keep up on them because everyone else is going to be seeing it. Now we don't have that kind of cultural. Superhero movies are not in the culture that the way they used to be. So it's like people are just like, what super movie? Like they could have missed like 5 or 6 of them, and then like Superman comes out and you maybe see that one because it's about Superman. But there's a lot of ones where like if you get like an obscure character and it's not like a great script, it doesn't have great word of mouth, then you're not going to see it. But like
the Harley Quinn movie or the Poison Ivy movie, all these things.
But like that's where like the horror movies are like, Obsession and Backrooms, they're kind of like cleaning house because they're like interesting ideas. The word of mouth is really, that's what's getting people into the theaters. It's like, okay, like the horror directors are like really getting in there because they're like interesting concepts, even weapons. I'm not a huge fan of weapons, as we've talked about on this pod before.
But it definitely
just
struck a
interesting
chord
ideas,
with people,
like just interesting ideas that like get people to the theater and like get people thinking and get people talking. There's just not a lot of that type of stuff in superhero. I think superhero movies got to be. It's really tough because you want to say that superhero movies need to take more risks and like be better, but the problem is that obviously I'm sure in this business climate where like superhero movies are like just one step away from like just kind of being gone, especially the DC movies. They're like one edge off the cliff away from being gone.
Like for Marvel, we're still hitting peaks for them, like with Secret Wars, the new Spider-Man film coming out later this month.
That's true. The Marvel stuff's going to keep continuing.
People will see the new Marvel.
But like, the new Marvel.
Yeah.
You've seen Friendship?
Of course, we saw it together.
Yeah, that's right. We did. That's true. That's right. We did talk about that one.
See the new Marvel?
You seen the new Marvel? Don't spoil the new Marvel. But yeah, like Doomsday, they have Secret Wars. They're just gonna keep making them because like Disney's got that firmly in control. There's that's there. That's their money puppy. That's the bread and butter. But DC obviously is on a much more tight leash and a really like high ledge sort of thing. They're about to jump off of
high ceiling, low floor kind of player.
So it's like it's just you gotta hit. The problem is they just have to deliver it. They have to do something with like the right amount of edge, the right amount of sauce, but doesn't like go too over into like indie film territory. It's really James Gunn's got to strike a weird chord, and he's done it before. It's just whether he's going to do it now, and he's really going to have to if they want to keep doing this.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have a lot to look forward to for Clayface next, or this next season coming up in the fall after summer is finished. I mean, it's really exciting to see them wanting to lean in to more like, obviously, Supergirl, regardless if obviously we didn't like it a lot, but it's definitely a summer blockbuster feel. Maybe they release like, a lot of good horror stuff coming out of the DC comics that they could release around, November, October, around Halloween, and then bring me back around for a holiday special or something like that. If they're going to lean into some of those demographics and like reasons for people to get out into the theaters, I guess I'll be all for it. And then obviously, I agree with you. Lean into the weirdness, James Gunn, of what Man of Tomorrow could be. And I feel like Man of Tomorrow is leaning to a point where it's going to leave us in a place with a lot more questions, but like in a good way, where you're like, oh my God, what happened to Supergirl? Or where did Hawk Girl go? Or like, why is Brainiac going to be here? It's kind of spoilers because I'm sure he's already been cast.
He's already been cast. Yeah. They have an actor for it. Yeah.
So, DCU, we're still going to come out and watch it, obviously. I might return to Supergirl next summer, right before Man of Tomorrow, watch Superman and Supergirl back to back, see if opinions have changed a little bit. By then, we'll be 30. Think about that. Incredible.
Crazy.
Incredible. Happy birthday to all my cancers out there. And I think we'll bring that, with that, we'll bring this episode of Pinoys versus the World to an end by saying this has been executively produced and edited, as always, by Jonas Hyllseth. Follow us on Instagram, obviously on YouTube as well, at Pinoys Versus. Like, subscribe, and thanks for joining us on this journey as we continue to see movies and give little reviews on them. Chris, anything left for the people before we dip today?
No.
Amazing.
We're just going to be watching more. I mean,
the invite's next.
I'm about to, so the invite is next.
Kind of hyped.
And then obviously we're going to talk, there's no way we're not going to talk about the Odyssey. But right now I'm geared up to see it 4 times.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. So
but definitely 4. Definitely 4. So I'm going to be, I'm going to go buck wild with that. So hopefully it's good enough to where I see it 4 times.
This is not a good movie, we will tell you.
Because I'm already locked in. I'm watching it like 3 times at the SIF downtown in 70mm.
Oh my God. Cinema.
You can't refund those tickets.
Oh, it's cooked.
So they better be, this movie better be good. I'm cooked, or else that's
they're gonna know his name.
That's
at
$60 down the drain. They're like,
downtown.
you again? Are you kidding me? What are you doing here? Stop.
Actually, 100 by the time you're done.
You need to touch grass. Yeah.
You need to leave.
Figure it out.
We actually have the seat just for you, Chris.
Yeah. And honestly, if they say that, I'm not going to be offended by that.
I'm going to say hell
it's
yeah.
true.
I'm going to say hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, I should.
Man. So do all of that below.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe to join us for the invite, the Odyssey, Brand New Day coming out later this year. We
Yeah,
got a
Brand New
lot
Day, yeah.
of stuff happening in July. But I'll end this episode of Pinoy's versus the World finally by saying that my name has been Harald Hyllseth,
My name is Chris Angkico.
and we will talk with you all in the next episode. Peace.